Hello and welcome back to the stream. It's been a long time and we're going to be streaming Python. Yeah, Python. Gosh. Just going to check the stuff. Audio. Should I keep it over here? Okay, we're good to go. Okay, so last time I don't remember correctly, but the stuff that we covered was most of this. And today I'm just going to try to understand this. Yeah, I haven't read this at the next point, and this is what we're going to read today. So it says added name and mode attributes for compressed and archived file-like objects and modules BZ2, LZMA, tor file, and zip file. Contributed by Surhai Storchaka in GH115961. Right, so please don't mind if I pronounce the name in a way that is not correct. I don't know how to pronounce the name correctly. So this person contributed this. Anyways, I'm apologizing beforehand if I mispronounce the name. Okay, so we're going to ask Perplexity what this means. And yeah, this is Python 3.1. This is Python 3.13. This is 3.130b3 documentation. It's now on 0b3. Last time I covered it, it was on some other number, and now it has changed. Yeah. Okay, so I don't remember correctly, but I think this is where we left off. Okay. Alright, so now I'm just going to paste a link here. So what I'm going to ask Perplexity, because Perplexity explains stuff pretty good. Could you explain all this, please? Alright, so we're just going to wait for Perplexity and wait for its answer. Let me just check the volume. Okay. The key points regarding the addition of name and mode attributes. Addition of name and mode attributes for compressed and archived file-like objects. Compressed and archived file-like objects, or new attributes for compressed and archived file-like objects. The following modules now have new attributes added to their file-like objects. Name and mode attributes in these modules. Specifically, the name and mode attributes have been added to these file-like objects. The name attribute contains the name of the file or archive entry that the file-like object represents. The mode attribute contains the mode, example RWA, in which the file or archive entry was opened. Okay. These new attributes provide more information about the file-like objects, which can be useful when working with compressed or archived data programmatically. For example, you can now do things like import a zip file with zip file. Okay, example.zip, ZF for entry and ZF.info list. Printf.name, print the name of the file in the zip. Archive, printf.mode, print the mode the file is opened in. Okay, so basically, it's adding these. What I understand from this is that it has added these two new attributes, right? These two attributes, name and mode, for the compressed and archived file-like objects in these modules. Per file, zip file, VZ to LZMA. Alright, so we're just gonna try to run this, and we're gonna see if it runs, what are the things that need to be changed in the code. Okay. Test.py. Alright. So the first error is that file, okay, line 3. With zip file example.zip. Okay, so what we have to do here is, I think we need to example.zip. Okay, test example.zip. I think we need to zip this file in order for the program to work. New folder. Can we add this to compress to zip file? Example. Okay, example. .zip. Yeah, okay. And now what if you try to run it? Example.zip. Okay, file C, where are we? So we're in users PMLS. Okay, first what I gotta do is I have to give the directory CD. Okay, so we're gonna try to CD over here. Downloads. Okay, now if I try to run this, I think it should work. Yes, it works. That is all it needed. So you can see that in the directory, I used the command cd to come to the downloads directory, and what I did was inside the directory I added a zip file. I compressed this into a zip file. I zipped it, and I named it example. Right. So after naming it example, you can see over here in the code that it says example.zip. So what this code is going to do, it's going to tell us two attributes. What was the first attribute? We should check it out. The first attribute is the name of the file-like object, and the second is the mode attribute. Okay. Okay, so the first is the name of the file. So we're going to see what is the name of our file. It should print the name of the file inside the zip. So my file inside the zip is named as test. Right, so there should be test over here. Yes, there is. Test.py. It works. And what is the mode? Print the mode the file was opened in. So basically, I don't know what this means, the mode. It says R over here. So the file is being opened over here in the mode R. So that's what I understand from this. Okay, just give me a minute. I just need to check something out. Alright, test. Okay, good, that's good. Okay, hopefully, I'm trying to understand it now. What I want to do is I want to understand the code. Okay, very nice. I understood it. The code, I didn't understand the code. The code works. It did print the name of the file. What I don't understand is that what is R in this? The mode that it is printing is R. The R in example.zip, R is a mode in which the zip file is being opened. Okay, in the zip file module, the available modes are R, open the archive for reading. This is the default mode. Oh, okay, so if it's R, it's the default mode is for reading. If it's W, open the archive for writing. If the file doesn't exist, it will be created. And for X, open the archive for exclusive creation. If the file already exists, an exception will be raised. And A, open the archive in append mode. The archive must be writable. Okay, so in the provided example, okay, the zip file example.zip is opened in read mode R using zipfile.zipfile. This allows you to read the contents of the zip archive. Okay, inside the with block, this is the with block, the zf.info list. zf.info list method? Yeah, there is zf.info list. Here it is. Is used to get a list. Is used to get a list of all the entries. Okay, so inside the with block, the zf.info list method is used to get a list of all the entries. Okay, it's used to get a list of all the entries. Files and directories in zip archive. Okay, so this is going to list all the entries, all the files that are inside the zip, right? I think so. In the zip archive, yeah. For each entry, zf.open entry is used to open the individual file inside the zip archive. This returns a file-like object. After opening it, then it's going to return a file-like object, which is then used to print the name. Okay, so it's going to return an object. Then it's going to print the name and mode attributes of the file. So that's cool, that's cool. The mode attribute of the file-like object will always be R, as the individual files inside the zip archive are open in read mode by default. So by default, it says over here that it's going to be opened as R. And I think that is why it's returning the mode as R. It's read mode. So now what we want to do is we want to understand the code, right? So we understood the logic. We understood the logic and what this means. It's a very good, it's a very nice contribution. It's very useful, and I understood it very well. So now what I want to understand is the code that is being run over here. So let's understand the code. So we want perplexity. Okay, so now I want to understand the code line by line, each and everything. Explain it to me like a 10-year-old. I've never done coding, but do use coding terminologies. So I'm trying to make it easier for me to understand this, you know? Okay. Let's go through the code line by line, and I'll explain it in a way you're logged out. I'll explain it in a way that a 10-year-old can understand. So the first line is import a zip file. This line tells the computer to get the zip file tool, okay, which is like a special box. Import a zip file. Okay, this line tells the computer to get the zip file tool, which is like a special box that can help us work with some zip files. Okay. With zipfile.zipfile, example.zip are as ZF. This is like opening a special box called example.zip. We're telling the computer to open this box in read mode, which means we can look inside the box but not change anything. The as ZF, yeah, that's at the end. Part is like giving the box a special name, ZF, so we can use it later in the code. For entry in ZF.info list, this line is like looking inside the box and finding all the things that are inside it. The computer is going to look at each thing one by one. With ZF.open entry is F, this line is like opening one of the things inside the box. We're telling the computer to open it up so we can see what's inside. The as F part is like giving this thing a special name. F so we can use it later in the code. And then we're going to try to print F.name. Okay, so here we named it F. If we named it F down there, why did we name it ZF over here? Oh, because it's ZF.info list. Okay, look into it. And then F.name, F.mode. The name and the mode, okay. This line is like looking at a thing we just opened and telling the computer shows how we opened it in read mode. So in summary, this code is like opening a special box. Okay. Now please explain it to me in coding terms. Keep it easy. Tell me each word separately. Did I spell it wrong? What each word means and what it does. So I do I have understood it like a general overview kind of understanding. I just want to understand what all these words are. Okay, so let's go through the code. Import. This word tells the computer to get something from somewhere else and use it in a code. Zip file, this is the name of the special box that we want to get, which is a tool that helps us work with zip files. Yeah. With. This word tells the computer to do something special with the special box, which is zip file, I think. We're about to open. Yeah. Zip file.zip file. This is the command that tells the computer to open the example. Okay, zip file dot zip file. Please tell me, what is this dot doing here? Why are there two names for zip files? Yeah, I don't get it. Is it like an object or something? Are we accessing it using an object? Is that it? I don't know. The dot in zip file is a way to access something that's inside the zip file module. That's inside the zip file module, right? So let me see, what zip file is this? Is the small z, F-I-L-E. So this is the one zip file. And then we're using that to access zip file. Okay. I'm getting the hang of it. So zip file, which is a small z. Yeah, this is a small one. Is the name of the module or special box that we're using. This is the name of the module. This is it. This is the one. This is the module that we're using. Modules are like collections of tools and functions that you can use in your code. Zip file, the capital Z and capital F. This one. What is this? Now we're going to read about this. Zip file is a specific tool or function that's inside the zip file module. Okay, so this zip file is a special tool or function that is inside the zip file module. So this zip file, this one, this is inside this module. So this is a tool or function which is inside the module. Okay, I get it. It's the one that allows us to open and work with zip files. Okay, this is the tool or function that allows us to open and work with zip files. I get it. So this is the module. This is our module that we're importing. And then inside that module, there is a tool or function. And that is known as the zip file. And the way they're differentiated is that the module starts with a small letter, Z, and the F is also small. But the function or tool inside the module is starting with a capital Z and a capital F, zip file. Yeah. So the dot is used to connect the module name, zip file, to the specific tool or function we want to use. Yeah, okay. So we're using our module, and then the dot, and then we're adding the dot, and then we're accessing the tool or function that is present inside the module, zip file. Okay, it's a way of saying, hey, I want to use zip file tool that's inside the zip file module. This is a common way of organizing accessing different parts of module or library in programming. It helps keep things organized and makes it easier to find the specific tools we need. In this case, the zip file module probably has other tools and functions besides zip file, and the dot allows us to pick the one we want to use. Okay, so now I understood that the dot allows us to pick the one that I want to use. So I wanted to use zip file, so I got it. Okay, so now we're going to ask the other ones. What are the other ones for? Okay, so this is example.zip. Why is with written there? What is with? The with statement in Python is used to ensure that resources are properly released or cleaned up. Resources are properly released or cleaned up after they're no longer needed. It is often used to manage the lifetime of objects that need to be closed or released, such as files, network connections, or database connections. In the context of the code, the with statement is used to ensure that the zip file object, ZF, and the file-like object, F. So there's two objects. The first one is the zip file object, which is the object of this tool or function, not the module, okay? It says capital Z, capital F, which is the tool or function inside the module. So this is not the module, it's a tool or function. Okay, so the with statement is used to ensure that the zip file object, ZF, this is the zip file object. This is the zip file, and this is its object. and the file-like object f, this is it, are properly closed and released when they are no longer needed. Okay, so closing them and then releasing them is also important. This is important because these objects may have internal state that needs to be cleaned up, or they may be using system resources that need to be returned to the system. Okay. The with statement achieves this by automatically calling the enter method of the object when the block is entered and the exit method when the block is exited. This ensures that any necessary cleanup or release of resources is performed. In this specific case, the with statement is used to manage the lifetime of the zip file object and the file-like object, ensuring that they are properly closed and released when the code is finished using them. Okay. What is ZF and example? That's zip and R. Yeah, although I know what the example.zip and R is, I'm just going to ask it again. ZF, this is a variable name that represents an instance of the zip file.zip class. Wow, this is a cool diagram. Sudo apt install zip. Okay. Pretty cool diagrams. So zip file ZF is a variable name that represents an instance of the zip file.zip class. Okay. It's created by opening the example.zip file in read mode using this function. Okay. So ZF is a variable, it says over here. And it's not just any variable. It represents an instance of the class. Zip file class. You know, I'm getting the feeling over here that this is something related to like object creation and classes and objects. I think it's pretty similar to that. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. Let me know in the comments if I'm correct, or whatever the correct answer is. So that is ZF. So we all know what is example.zip. That's the zip file that the code is working with, yeah. R stands for read mode. It's the mode in which the example file is being opened. So it allows us to read the contents of the zip file but not modify it. Okay, so the code is doing the following. It's importing the zip file module, which provides tools for working with zip files. It's using the with statement to open the example.zip file in read R mode and assign the resulting zip file object. This is a file to the variable ZF. So it's assigning this object to ZF. Okay. Alright. Inside the with block, it's looping through all the entries. Yes, it is. For entry in ZF.InfoList. Followed in the zip file using the ZF.InfoList method. For each entry, it's opening the individual file using ZF.OpenEntry. Okay, ZF.OpenEntry as F. Okay. I'm getting it. And assigning the resulting file-like object to the variable F. Okay, and then it's assigning the resulting file-like object to the variable F. Finally, it's printing the name and mode attributes of the file-like object F, which will show the name of the file inside the zip archive and the mode in which it was opened. R3. Okay, so pretty much I understood most of it. What I want to understand is InfoList and Open. Where did InfoList and Open come from? Where did InfoList and the Open come from? And why is ZF.written behind them? Similarly, why if written behind name and mode? Alright, so let's see. The code you provided is using the zip file module in Python, which provides a great way to work with zip archives. Let's break down the key parts you asked about. ZF.InfoList. Yeah, I asked about it. ZF is a variable. So until now I understood that ZF is a variable that represents an instance of the zip file class. So this is a variable that represents an instance of this class. Why is it named, is this a class? Let me see. If I hover over this, I don't see anything. So, oh, okay, it's showing me over here. This zip file this is a module. But what is this, the other one? This is a class, okay, this is a class. So this variable represents an instance of this zip file class. Very nice, very nice. Cool. Okay. That represents an instance of the zip file class. It was created earlier in the code. Okay. InfoList is a method of the zip file class. Okay, InfoList is a method of the zip file class that returns a list of zip info objects. That returns a list of zip info objects. One for each file directory in the zip archive. It's going to return objects, okay. So the InfoList is a part of the zip file class, so that is why we can use it over here. So, ZF.InfoList, right, is calling the InfoList method on the zip file object, represented by ZF. ZF.InfoList is calling the InfoList method. Yes, it is calling the InfoList method on the zip file object, represented by ZF. Okay. It's calling the method on the object. Okay. I think this is very closely related to classes and objects. I just don't remember clearly. I'm not sure. It could be something else, you know. Programming is pretty big. There's a lot of concepts. Okay, so ZF.OpenEntry. ZF is the same zip file object as before. Yes, it is. It is the same object. It is an object of the class. Okay. Because zip file is a class over here. So this is an object of the zip file class. So this is the same object. Oh, .open is another method of the zip file class that allows you to open a specific file. I get it. So open is another method from this zip file class. It's another method. Entry is an item from the list returned by ZF.InfoList, representing a file or directory in the archive. It is an item from the list. It's an item, okay. So ZF.OpenEntry opens a specific file or directory represented by the entry object, allowing you to read its contents. F is a variable that represents a file-like object returned by ZF.OpenEntry. ZF.OpenEntry. F is a variable that represents a file-like object. Okay. Returned by ZF.OpenEntry. .name and .mode are attributes which provide the name of the file. Yeah. Accessing, so f.name and f.mode are accessing those attributes of the file-like object to get the name and mode of the file. Is to access the methods. The reason for ZF dot and f dot prefixes is to access the methods and attributes of the respective objects. The zip file and the file-like object that were created earlier in the code. You can create an object like ZF for the zip file. Okay, so it says over here that we can create an object for the zip file class. So basically ZF is an object of the zip file class. I may be wrong, I'm not sure, but this is what Perplexity has to say. Perplexity says that ZF is an object of zip file class. And then we can use the methods and attributes of the class. Okay. Okay. This is cool, and this is cool. Okay, zip file. So I use CD to go to downloads, you can see over here. And then when I was in this downloads directory, I ran the program and it successfully ran. But when I was not in the downloads directory, I was in the users directory, you see over here. It was not able to run the program. Yeah, it was not because it couldn't find the file example.zip. I mean, it's not a file, it's a folder. A folder is a collection of files. So it was not able to find this zip, right? But there is a question over here. We all know that a folder is a collection of files, right? But what is a zip? Is a zip a file or is it a folder? Let me know the answer in the comments. Is a zip a file or a folder? So anyways, it's going to look for example.zip. So once I use cd to go to downloads, which is over here, it was able to find the example.zip, which is sitting over here, right over here. This is example.zip. And then what the function of the code was to like find out the files that are present inside this. So there is only one file inside this, which is test.py, and it just has to print the name and mode. So it did print the name and mode successfully. So what I don't understand over here, why is the word entry inside this? Okay, so create an object ZF, right? For that class, and then use that object to access a method of the class. And then file like object. So what other object was there? I forgot. There was a file like, yeah, the other one is the file like object. Okay, so f.name, f.mode. Okay, very good. This is cool. So I just want to know what entry is. Where did it come from? Entry refers to a specific file or directory within a zip archive. The entry variable. It says that Perplexity says that entry is a variable commonly used when iterating over the contents of a zip file, using the infolist or namelist methods of the zip file class. So we're using the infolist and open method. We're not using the namelist. We're using the infolist and open method. Okay, so what's interesting over here? Let's read this line again. ZF.infolist, this is it. It returns a list of zip info objects. I don't know what this means. It returns a list of zip info objects where each object represents an entry. File directory, okay. So it's going to return, the infolist method is going to return zip info objects. And each object is going to represent a file, which is an entry. So the entry over here is a file, I get it. For every entry, meaning for every file, return the name and mode. Okay. Very nice, very nice. Okay, the interesting stuff. The entry is a variable that represents each individual file directory. So what we want to note over here, what we're going to note over here is that it's not just an individual file. It also may be a directory inside the zip, okay, archive. The entry variable comes from the infolist or nameless method. So we are using the infolist method. So that is where the variable entry is coming from. Entry. Zip info. Cool, it says zip info over here. So Perplexity is actually right. It says it returns a list of zip info objects. If you hover over this, it says zip info. So that is a zip info object. Very nice. File names. Objects or file names? You can then use entry to access the properties. You can then use entry to access the properties and methods of each individual entry. Entry.file name, entry.datetime, entry.compressed size, but that is not what we used entry for. We just wrote down entry inside this method, open method, of the zip file class. That is what we used entry for. So over here we just use entry as a variable that represented a file. So here we use entry as a variable that represents each file inside the zip archive. Very nice. This is cool. So yeah, this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if I misinterpreted something, misunderstood something, or if I might have said something wrong, then please forgive me. My highest apologies. If I may have mispronounced something, my highest apologies once again. I'm sorry. Right. So if you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much. That is it for today. So yeah, I mean, what I want to say at the end is that I'm just reading it right now. As I'm streaming, I'm learning stuff. I'm learning Python and some other coding languages as well. A lot more stuff. So I might be wrong at some places when I'm reading out loud. So like, I mean, I didn't read this before. I just opened the stream on YouTube and then started reading this, and to understand it, I use Perplexity, because Perplexity explains stuff very clearly. It's pretty good at explaining and giving good answers. And that is one of the reasons I love Perplexity. It's a cool. I love Perplexity, to be honest. I love it. So yeah, so what I mean to say is that I might be wrong, I might be correct. I don't know. I mean, I might be correct about something about the programming. I might as well be wrong about it. So it could be anything. I could be right, I could be wrong about the programming that I'm reading. Alright, that I'm reading. So what I'm trying to say is that, like, while I'm reading stuff, this is the official Python documentation, right? And I use it I read it out loud. I try to understand it, but I don't do it beforehand. I just try to understand it during the stream, right? Because I'm also learning stuff. I don't know everything about programming, right? So I just want to say that if I, for example, read something and I explained it wrong, okay? If I read something and if I explained it wrong, then my highest apologies. I did not mean to do that. If I'm wrong somewhere about explaining something or reading out loud, mostly I'm just reading it, okay? And I'm learning it myself as well. I don't know everything. I'm trying to learn myself as well. Please be clear about this. I'm also trying to learn, right? So if I'm wrong about something, if I may have explained something wrong or read something wrong, uh, unwillingly, right? I didn't do it deliberately. I may have read something or explained something wrong unwillingly. I mean, I didn't know if it was wrong or right. So if any of this stuff happens, please do know that I'm sorry. My highest apologies. I'm a human being. We all make mistakes, and yeah, I'm learning as well. So thank you very much for the video, for watching the video, right? And I hope you enjoyed it. So before I finish the video, I want to give you good wishes. I wish you a happy and long life, and I wish you all the good stuff and positivity in life. I wish you good health and a good day. Thank you very much.